Minister. Well, mahaba yung topics in a very compressed period of time, no? Sorry lang pala kasi boses. Okay. First, I extended an invitation to the Prime Minister to visit the Philippines. It turns out that there's never been a Prime Minister of England or Great Britain to have visited the Philippines, so he will be the first. Of course, they'll have to study it. We talked about so many topics in businesses, British businesses in the Philippines. They number 56 companies. Increasing trade. They asked for updates on the peace talks, whether with the MILF. I don't think we got to talk about the CPP peace talks. No? What else did we talk about? Of course, he inquired about the disputes in the West Philippines. We updated him that there seems to be a de-escalation already of the situation. Finally, we both agreed on something, and the agreement has been carried out. Removing of the ships, the government ships within the shoal, the shell. And we just finished the Nestle discussions. They, as I told you before, they have indicated that they would want to reverse the balance of sourcing from the Philippines versus sourcing from abroad. When we initially talked about it, they were doing about 25% of their coffee needs from the Philippines. They want to get that by 2020 to between 75 to 80% of their needs. So currently, it's about 30 to 35% of their coffee needs are already sourced in the Philippines. There were invitations to visit the headquarters in Switzerland, and also the Agricultural Research Facility in Tours in France for Secretary Alcala. They talked about their PPO operations already in the Philippines, which was started by the member of the board in charge of our part of the world when he was country representative in the Philippines. So they started out 60, they now number, sorry, it escapes me the number, but there are 3,000 more or less direct employees already. Their plants are operating at full capacity. We'll be inaugurating the plant that I witnessed the groundbreaking of by October of this year. I think it starts operations by July. Okay, that's in Shell naman. If you remember, we went to Batangas a while back. They were talking about their expansion. They'll be awarding the contract for the construction of the expansion for Malampaya by next month. It is projected to produce about 7,000 jobs. Witnessed the signing of the study for the regasification plant. That seems to have a very good prospects. We discussed a little about the resources that are off Rectobac and service contracts 3 and 4. Nasaan ko ba nataw? Meron ba ako nakalimutan? Shell, Nestle, and the Prime Minister. Lunch. In lunch, of course, the Lord Mayor was a recent visitor. Minister Jeremy Brown has been to Manila twice. He's also a Liberal Democrat like I am, although, syempre, they're in coalition with the Conservatives. During the lunch, I got to talk to, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but he's considered one of the experts in terms of the solution to the Ireland issue that they had for such a long time. So he gave us several pointers on on what they did to have achieved the solution to the Irish question. And I think we'll be passing this on to the presidential advisor on the peace process, and Dean Leonen, to implement it. It seems there is they gave us some insights into the processes that they use that can be utilized in the country. Kompleto ko na yata ng lunch. Meron ba ako naiwan?
Sir, walang investments with British Prime Minister or aid, for example, sa Mindanao or whatever area?
Sorry, that goes without saying. They've been a member of the International Contact Group for the longest time. In fact, the meeting was so compressed, and now I realize I forgot to thank him for all of the assistance that they've already been giving us, especially, not just in the peace process, but yung police forces, yung upgrading of skills is a continuing process. And then, June, briefer nung sa But medyo haba yung list of things that they've been assisting us with. No? They're now the chair for the Open Governance Partnership. Amongst the things that they did for transparency and governance was records of the national health system, which pointed out certain areas where they could, where they actually have, yung parang the sharing of the data and the records produced a re-evaluation of their health system that produces or redounds to better benefits for the patients that are undergoing the treatment. If I remember correctly, yung mga duplication of efforts, tests, etc., nakita na unnecessary. And this came about primarily because there was a mandated sharing of data amongst the various doctors that were involved in their national health system. Medyo mahaba ito. Puro sa atin to. Dito para sa akin. Okay. Iba pag uwi ko na lang sa inyo sasabihin na. Meron bang British media dito? Tigas ko na. Hindi, di ba? Yung economy natin, 6.4%. Malayo sa kanila. Pwede huwag na rin yung highlight. I-share ko na lang sa inyo. Kaya hindi ko masyadong pinasukan. Balance of trade kasi pabor na pabor sa atin. Okay. If you notice, walang parenthesis. Which means hindi negative. So, huwag na natin i-highlight masyado to dahil baka tourist arrivals, they're our single biggest market for Europe. British. We talked also about the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty that was ratified already by the Senate. We have already notified them formally that this is already in effect. We were asked about the extradition treaty, which is still pending in the Senate. Silang head ng Open Governance Partnership, they've assumed the steering committee's co-chair. They talked about reinvesting within Asia, the Asia-Pacific region. Pinag-usapan rin namin Myanmar. Kasi yung opening up under Tanchin, President Tanchin. So, that it should be encouraged. We talk also to Madam Aung San Suu Kyi. We want to make what is the improving situation in Myanmar to become permanent. Sinare nila sa ating expertise sila sa public-private partnerships. We went to St. Pancras yesterday. It's a train station. It's one of the stations that connects to the tunnel or the channel, across channel. Yung parang pinapakita lang doon, no? It was rundown. It was very dark. It had one store that sold newspapers. So, nung ginawa ito, dami nang napuntahan naman yun. Kung napuntahan, medyo impressive talaga. Punong-puno ng retail establishments. Grabe, it services something like, I don't know if that alone or the whole system services something like 45 million people every year. But again, no, you take yung King's Cross is noong 18 something. Kung naalala nyo si Jack the Ripper, para haunt niya yung King's Cross. And yung St. Pancras and the King's Cross terminal are leading the redevelopment of this area that was always, sa term siya, blighted. So it tells us also of what we can be doing for our own private-public partnerships of transforming. Tapos na-meld nila yung old and new. Medyo nakaka-impressive talaga. No? Tapos doon din sinuting si Harry Potter, just in case you don't know. Okay.
Sir, yung freedom of navigation and passage sa West Philippine Sea, was it discussed with your meeting with the Prime Minister earlier?
Only passing, no? We did say that if you look at that particular body of water, a lot of trade, worldwide trade, has to pass through it. And therefore, freedom of navigation should be a shared concern by all parties. So, again, it was, siguro we got to talk for about 20-25 minutes. And we had to talk about so many things. May tumatawag ko yan. Okay.
Sir, how did the Prime Minister express his concern on the West in the Philippine Sea when it was raised? What was his concern?
I think he was just listening primarily, no? Not too many comments. Kasi we were trying to parang, get the answers to our questions. So they were not necessarily the same questions. So, and again, yung compression of time. Of course, we did come here at a very busy time for them.
But was he the one who raised the matter? Or?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Did he appear sympathetic to our cause?
I believe so. It was a very, very pleasant meeting, no? Very productive. That's the value of going here, or he's coming to us. No? When you get to meet the head of state on a face-to-face basis, it does solidify what might be existing and concretizing what is existing on paper. And there's a deepening of the relationship. So it would be, if we were to solicit support later on, of course, it's subject to the geopolitical reality. But it does enhance our ability to come to common ground by these face-to-face meetings.
Sir, sir, taga dito po kami sa London. Team kami ni Dadani sa ABS-CBN. Kasi nanghingi kami ng feedback sa mga tao kahapon. Very appreciative sila sa mga sinabi nyo, lalo na sa mga good news. Kaya lang parang sabi nila, kulang yata yung sinabi nyo, hindi man lang na-involve ang overseas Filipino community. Lalo dito sa UK, grabe ang tira nila ngayon sa mga undocumented workers. Ang daming nadideport. So, ewan ko siguro hindi nyo napag-usapan yan, pero...
Pinag-usapan namin kanina, bring up ng ating ambassador, si Pastor Manalo. At ang sagot sa atin, siyempre, meron silang unemployment dito of about 5, 6, or 7 million. Of course, they need to generate jobs for their citizens. They had to do, ano binanggit niya? In schools, no? They're still open for all students who are qualified to have a place in university to study here. But they had to close down also universities that were parang a scam. Sorry, to provide visas. But they were, sorry. Parang yung treatment of people who are already here would be, parang, my understanding is there will be no change. But those that would be wanting to come, they would have to go through the process wherein they have already tightened the doors, basically because they really do need to address the unemployment situation of their own citizens. And I think that is understandable. So I think the ambassador was satisfied he's been taking this up. There is at least that assurance that those that are already here, who have been here, sinabi sa atin, for instance, they're productive members of the community, they have actually contributed and are actually still contributing, and they recognize the contributions that our community has done here. And if I didn't mention it yesterday, I'm sorry, medyo may konting pagod na rin. I was trying to cover so many things in a very limited period of time. This 7-day trip, just to highlight it, yung travel time is about 42 hours. Parang 2 days of the 7, tapos you lose 1 day going back. So parang compress natin yung London, Washington, and Los Angeles in about 3 or 4 days worth of activities. Julie.
Sir, can I ask about a matter back home?
That depends on which matter.
The-
Baka yung kino-cover niya ako.
later, sir. Anyway, there are many bishops who are seeking an audience with you to more or less to raise their concern if you can commit to the full implementation of agrarian reform. Are you open to that, and what is your position on the remaining, sir, the 900,000 hectares plus?
We are committed to completing it as envisioned by Carpor. There are, yung binabanggit sa atin ni Secretary de los Reyes, may problema yung, I think it's a 10 hectares and below na holding. That was yung cases, no? But am I willing to meet the bishops? So that is the question. Actually, Secretary Abad, Secretary de los Reyes, Secretary Lacerda, and 2 more who escape my memory right now are supposed to be in touch with the bishops, either bishop or bishops, kasi nabanggit sa pangalan lang. And they were appealing to it. But they will meet the concerned bishop or bishops before I get back to present to me a list of doables already. So by the time we get to meet the bishops, we can commit to specific actions in specific timeframes. So even if I'm here, that's being addressed.
Sir, so their concern is that the law will lapse in 2 years. So they are asking if you are committed to the full implementation by 2014.
From the start, pinipilit natin ma-complete. That was actually the first thing that I discussed with Secretary Dos Reyes. Because in the legislature, I kept on bringing that up. No? Yung may beginning, may end yung program. Eh. And binigyan na tayo ng end, and I don't think Congress will be of a mind to extend it further. Remember, 10 years na-extend ng 5. No? Na-extend ng another 5. Tapos babalik tayo, kasi parati dinadalan para matapos natin. Hindi ako sure kung magiging 20 total or 25 total na. So, sabi ko, instructions sa kanya, kailangan makompleto lahat to within the time allotted to us because it will be very difficult to get a further extension. And he has been focused on that. I think he has been conducting discussions and talks with various stakeholders to describe precisely where we are at already at this point in time. What remedies can be done and actions can be done to accelerate the process. But he was also sharing with us that there are certain segments that there will be some difficulties with. That they envision a lot of court cases being filed.
Sir, but after you get the list of doables, are you open to meeting with the bishops? To
Of course, that's the whole point. No? Yung imbis na, siguro efficiency lang sinasabi, no? Pag may meet tayo ngayon, tapos sabihin ko, babalikan ko kayo. Ay, pag nag-meet kami, hindi ko na sila babalikan dahil ito na yung gagawin. Ilan naman yung nahabol na nakipag-meet mo. I'm not avoiding them. Kaya lang, I'm here and they're there. And they told me, I first heard about it whilst I arrived here. They could have talked to me sana before I left. Okay.
Sir, going back to the yung invitation yung kay Prime Minister, what was his response?
Nakangiti naman, no? Pero siyempre, he will have to consult the same people. I think revelation sa kanya yung first visit by a sitting Prime Minister. But it will have to go through the process na ayusin lahat ng schedule nila, hanap ng mutually agreeable time. So parang kung inimbita ko sa sinabi niya, I'll see you next week. Medyo over naman tayo siguro. But I think they're seriously considering it.
Sir, on another matter, the Ombudsman dismissed bribery and corruption case against the former president regarding sa 2004 poll fraud. Mahina daw, sir, kasi yung evidence. So,
I'll have to get back to you on that. Wala akong feedback on that as of this time. Manghuhula ako. I'd rather know rather than guess.
okay, sir.
Sir, good afternoon. Joseph, GMA7. Can I go back to China, yung issue in China? You mentioned that the removal of the ships was a product of talks with China?
Talks with China.
Can we...
Within the shoal. Removal of the ships within. Meron kasi our ships and their ships are outside of the shoal.
Sir, given that, tingin niyo bababa niyo yung tension dun?
Palagi ko, no? Dahil nung umpisa parang sino may iwan sa shoal, sino unang aalis, sino matitira. Mahaba-habang diskusyon eh. Ngayon nasabay na wala na doon. So, clearly, no? May pinagkasundoan na goal, in-achieve ng both parties yung requirements sila. Palagi ko naman pampahupa na ng tension yun.
Sir, sino nakipag-usap kanina?
Maraming nakikipag-usap, napakarami rin sa kanila. Siguro importante na-achieve. Tsaka hindi na siguro ganun ka-importante yung paano na-achieve. Pero later on, ulitin yung formula para lalo magkaroon ng solusyon.
Sir, will the British government help us, exert effort for a diplomatic,
I think my purpose kanina was just to explain to them our side. We didn't ask from them assistance in this particular manner and matter. They will proceed under their best lights. And yung part of the issues, di ba, the Chinese side would say, don't internationalize the incident. Let's talk about bilaterally. So we've demonstrated goodwill to each other already. Perhaps we can, for the meantime, not drum up international support for our cause at this point in time. Just to provide the best environment for a solution to this entire issue.
Sir Rose Eclarinal from ABS-CBN Europe. marami rin po talagang interesado sa personal na buhay ninyo. Gusto pong malaman ng Philcom dito kung bakit nyo napiling puntahan ang Imperial War Museum at kung magkakaroon daw po kayo ng mas mahaba-habang oras sa London, ano pa yung gusto ninyong mabisita?
Well, napasukan namin kanina yung cabinet room. O di syempre, napag-isip kang si Churchill nagdidesisyon dito no World War II, bibigat ang desisyon niya. Yun yung talaga nag-aasam-asam ka. Sana nga yung mga pader at kisa may dingding dito kaya makapagsalita. Paano nga ba yung ano ba yung mga, gano'ng kainit ba yung talakayan nila doon? Maraming other sites na gusto natin puntahan. Yung Imperial War Museum lang, parang student ako ng history at isa yan sa pinaka-extensive na collections anywhere at medyo doable na makita. Of course, yung aming isang oras at kalahati kahapon, paano ba? Siyempre, pupunta ka ganyan. Kunyari, yung portion doon sa Holocaust, titignan mo, makikita mo yung mga tao halos butot balat. Medyo dapat nagre-reflect ka ng konti. Pero sa oras na binigay, talagang pumasok ka doon sa kwarto, lumingon ka kaliwa hanggang kanan, labas ka na, dahil pumasok na kayo sa susunod na kwarto. Yung even in that short period of time, nakita mo rin na ano ba nangyayari talaga sa gera? Sino ba nakikinabang talaga sa gera? Bakit huling hakbang dapat ang pakikipag-gera maski kanino man? Dinaanan namin yung, what did they call it? The Eye? London Eye. So, siyempre, hindi ko napansin na gumagalaw siya hanggang pinoint out ng security officer natin na you might think it is stopped, it is actually moving at a very slow rate. Oo nga, gumagalaw natin pa. Nakita natin at least yung outside ng Parliament building. Nakita ko yung statue ni Churchill kanina. May dinahan na kami, was it parang Trafalgar Square. But it had parang steel girders on the grass. I couldn't get the connection. Yung Trafalgar kasi was the battle where Nelson saved the empire. Siyempre, si Big Ben, tinuro doon sa malayo, yun si Big Ben. Hindi ko pag malaki, nakita ko na lahat yan. Pero as usual nga, sightseeing is not the purpose of this visit. So I'm thankful that I got 10-second glances of so many of these important sites. Perhaps at some future time, I can have a little bit more time to really imbibe the lessons. Yes.
Sir, I know it's security reason, but you know, it's nice to see those places, but don't you ever think of visiting some place like more Filipinos will be there, like Earl's Court, the famous Earl's Court, Kilmer, where there's a lot of people that they can really interact with you and they can see you face to face, not only on tellies?
Well, all our trips, we have an interaction with the Filipino community. Kaya lang ayoko rin mahabang mga biyaheng outside of the country dahil ibig sabihin lang nun, lalo makukompress yung oras ko.
Earl's Court is just in London.
Pero like
but
right
you
now,
can see, you know, you can see the ordinary people in this area. That's what I'm trying to say. Because, I mean, these are where the real Filipinos are, the majority of us.
Pero kung babalik ko sa yung tanong, kung interaction na meaningful, can you do it in less than an hour?
Of course not, sir. But, you know, at least you can see their faces there. I mean, the real ones.
Well, whether or not I meet them face to face, any concern that reaches our desk is attended to, whether back home or here. In fact, I think Ambassador Manalo would be one of those who I mentioned that don't forget that your assignment there is primarily to take care of our citizens. Everything else becomes second. So,
Hi, sir. Buddy Bernardino, Radyo Pilipino, UK. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Wala mo naman, thank you sa pagbibigay mo ng message sa launching namin, sir, para man lang nagbago since 2001. Anyway po, mabalik tayo sa tourism. I've been living here since 2005. Lahat ng mga nakakasabay kong bitoy, minsan tinatanong ko kung saan na pwedeng gusto mag-holiday. Binabanggit nila kundi Thailand, Vietnam, and Singapore. Ay hindi mo ba tayo nagkukulang doon sa campaign natin sa Department of Tourism para lalong dumami yung turista sa atin?
noong araw, nagkukulang tayo talaga. No? Dahil natingnan nga doon sa pagsusuri, bawat kalihim na na-appoint sa Department of Tourism, ang nadagdag lang na turista sa term niya, matig 100,000. Pero ating kasalukuyang kalihim, no, last year na-produce na niya from 3 million na base, 3.9 million na tayo last year. This year, nag-a-average na ng 400,000. So tinataya maging yung dating 3 million, 4.6 this year. Baka kung tumulong ka ba, maging 4.8. No? Tapos pagdating ng, parang halos kalahati na tayo, nung target natin sa 2016, 10 million.
Sir?
Ryan? Meron.
Hello, sir. Sir, there are senators who are perceived allies of your administration and their term of office are set to expire by 2013. Are they in your radar for possible appointment in the cabinet like Senator Pangilinan and others and Lacson
Those two in particular, yes.
in particular? You're
Kung
considering them?
magkasundo, well, number one,
Ah,
siyempre, wala naman tayo i-coerce to accept any position. Magkipag-usap tayo. Kung meron silang advocacies na palagay nila mapagpaglingkuran sa pagkabilang sa executibo, open po tayo sa kanila.
saan ba sila bagay dalawa, sir? May idea kayo na pwedeng i-share sa amin?
Ikakahunan natin sa kanila. Hindi ko pa sila nakausap na gusto. Baka naman sabihin nila, ready kami tumulong, pero bakit mo naman kami nilagay dito lang?
Sir, another thing po. Malapit na po yung election and then I understand that the legal question doon sa only option of the COMELEC is to buy the PCOS machine remains pending in the Supreme Court. Will you allow the revert of the manual fraud counting type ng election?
Will I allow? Alam mo, wala sa akin kapangyarihan to allow or to disallow.
Okay.
No, we can support. The COMELEC is a constitutional body. The Supreme Court is a co-equal body. We can appeal to both, no, to expedite the
Are you
process.
concerned, sir? Are you concerned with this?
Siyempre, yung naging beneficiaryo tayo na within 24 hours nalaman yung resulta. No, kung makakasanayan ng tao na may credible na elections, na malalaman mo kagad na resulta, hindi buwan-buwan. No? Eh, laking tulong sa atin. No?
Tanong mo na.
Sir, yung sa ano na lang po, Chief Justice.
CJ, sir.
Wala pa sa akin.
Hindi sir, pero yung si Justice Carpio and si Commissioner Hinares and Secretary
Sa-
Lima are
pabalik
being
tayo.
asked to inhibit
Do you have
from
a short
the
list?
from the selection process.
The list has to proceed from the JBC. I can choose apart from what the list that they provide. No? Yung to inhibit, may kailangan mag-inhibit sila dahil kinoconsider siya doon. Baka dapat kausapin ko siya na huwag ka na magpa-consider dyan at gawin mo na yung papel mo bilang vice chair ng JBC. Maraming cases na pending na hinahandle niya. Laila. Hindi ko siya nakausap, kakabalik niya galing Switzerland.
Mag-inhibit na siya.
Good. Nag-inhibit. Inhibit sa ano.
Si JP
Perhaps I should talk to her.
Pero yung sa nomination po yata sila pinapa-inhibit. Yung parang for them to decline na lang the nomination.
Ang hirap nito nakakaya kay Laila. Hindi ko pa siya nakausap. Kaya muna sasabihin ko na opinion ko. Baka maganda sabihin ko muna sa kanya. Laila, mas maganda yata ako ganito. So I cannot wait until I get back home.
Sir, clarification nung sinabi nyo, if you would rather that Secretary De Lima stay on as a vice chair.
And the JBC, by inhibiting her, or if she gets nominated, no? Parang from this stage, she says, di ba parang bastos yun? Parang papakiusapan ko siya. Hindi na ako muna sa inyo.
Sinabi naman niya, sir, na kung ano daw ang gusto niyo.
She's making herself available daw.
Pero kung ano daw ang gusto ni President.
Kaya, pero parang out of delicadeza naman, bago ko sasabihin na, di ba, that's a new path to her career. Eh, bigyan ko naman ng courtesy na pag-usapan namin na maayos bago maglabas ng kung anong statement.
Last two.
Ay, na rin siya mag-senator.
Hindi nga, uwi na ako eh. Di ba? In a few days time. So, she just came back from the review, di ba? In Geneva. So, she wasn't at the airport before I left. There was no opportunity for us to talk without going through, di ba, the airwaves.
Last three. Right.
Uy, hindi tayo pwede sa susunod.
Last one, Nancy Carval, sir of Inquirer.
Bakit nasa buwan ang boses mo tulad ko?
Napag-utusan niya mo, are you dating now? No. Ay, sino daw po?
Iyon naman ang tinatawag natin my business. Thank you. Okay?
Sir, politics, sir, yung una, parang okay na sila. Yung
Sino sila?
Yung una po, sir, by Binay and Erap. Most likely, sir, will there be a coalition, LP, NPC, NP, and other political parties who are not part of the UNA?
I think the only person who should talk naman for LP should be Maroas, who's the party president. No? I'm chair, but the powers of the party are vested in the party president. And they, other members of the party, have been the ones talking to the various members of the coalition, and other coalition
Your
partners.
opinion is not influential to the answer ongoing selection.
Kinukonsulta naman tayo. Pero, again, since I'm not privy to the day-to-day, latest developments, I may be out of date with regards to the information that I have. Pero may general principles na pinasa natin sa kanila to guide them in terms of coming up with the actual candidates for the coalition.
Okay. Oh,
Sir, last.
okay, last to sir. Okay.
Sir, okay. Sir, sa CJ, in principle, dapat talaga yung listahan galing sa JVC. Pero kung wala ka itong candidate, pwede mo namang ibalik tapos ipasama.
Hindi yata pwede ibalik yun.
Nangyayari yun, sir.
No.
Ibabalik yun. Pwede yun. So, ibig sabihin, sir,
I distinctly remember the JBC resisted Mrs. Arroyo's request for an expanded list, if I'm not mistaken. We did request, for instance, na the Constitution kasi says 3 nominees per position. So early on, I noticed that if there were parang I was given, kunyari, 5 nominees to fill 5 positions. Binabago-bago lang yung 3 na kabilang sa bawat isa. So parang at the end of the day, yung 5, sure na magkakaroon ng RTC position. So parang pinarating namin sa kanila, baka naman pwede tayo hindi lang sa letter of the law, pati spirit, na bawat pwesto mabigyan naman niyo akong pagpipilian ng 3. At lately nangyayari na yun.
Sir, how could si Justice Carpio? Do you see anything wrong with him being the next Chief Justice?
Again, can I comment when I get a list?
So, sir, mag-stick kayo sa JVC list?
Then the Constitution says it. They're the only party that can nominate. They're the only agency, institution that can actually nominate. Then I have to fill the position in 90 days. They have promised mga 1 month yata to finish their deliberations. Yeah.
you consume all 3 months, sir.
Kung hindi naman kailangan, bakit? But hindi naman ako mag-iinimay mo na nandun sa decision. There has to be a solid basis. For instance, my appointees to the Supreme Court, I really interviewed all of the candidates.
Sir, yung removal po ni former Chief Justice Corona sa Supreme Court, will this lead to good relations between the executive and the judiciary?
I think so. In fact, I'm almost certain that it will do. It will be. It will be the case.
Okay, thank you.